right. Looks like we're pretty steady at this point. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, everyone, thank you for joining. I know it's very difficult to take some time out of your day, not only to join one of these sessions, but also to join, to go through and fill out a profile. I've got a few housekeeping items that I'm going to cover, oops, if I can get my screen to work. So just some general housekeeping. As a reminder, everyone is on mute except for a handful of folks that are helping out with the WebEx event. There is a chat function in the lower right-hand side of your screen to ask any questions. We will be taking all of those questions and summarizing them. We're going to answer some of them at the end of the demo. Our goal right now is to get the supply base registered as quickly as possible, so we want to give you some hints and tips on how to do that. We're not going to be able to answer every question at the end of the session, but we will summarize and send those out to everybody. We also have an Oshkosh Purchasing and OshkoshCorp.com for any questions. Myself, Austin, and Allie, who are in the room here, we monitor that email. We do get quite a few of those depending on the day. So if you've sent a question to us and we haven't answered you, please bear with us. We will get you something as quickly as we can. What seems to be pretty effective is we also have a daily Q&A session. The link is right here. It's also on, if you've gotten communication from myself, Allie, or Austin, or quite a few folks at Oshkosh, there's a link. This link will actually take you to a list of just WebExes. They happen every day at random, not at random times, but at set times, Monday through Friday. Austin typically covers that, or myself. We are also recording this session. It will be available once we are done. We actually have about 4 of these sessions over the next couple of days, so we're going to be recording them. And whichever one that I do the best on is the one that we're going to post out to YouTube under a private link, and I will send it out to you. Along with that, we have job aids. This is out on the Oshkosh Supplier Network page. I'll show you where that's at as we go through this process. And I do want to remind everybody, you're going to hear this very consistently from us. I know we had a June 30th deadline. That was our target date. But July 29th is our drop dead date. If you are not registered by then, you will not receive POs, RFQs, forecasts at go live. There is a bunch of stuff that we need to do behind the scenes to connect your supplier numbers, and it is imperative that we have you registered by July 29th. So as we go through this process, I'm going to show you a few things, what you really need to focus in on, what you can disregard for now. If you have already registered, you are welcome to stick around. We're going to talk about some supplier training here toward the end as well. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So that covers my general housekeeping items. So our agenda today, we have Sean Ketter from our Global Procurement and Supply Chain. He's going to do a kickoff message for us. Susan Chang, who's our Senior Director of Supply Chain, will be walking through the modules and what's coming and why we're doing it. I will actually be going through the Supplier Relationship Management, or SRM, demo. I'm going to walk through in detail how you need to be answering these questions if it applies to you. Just so everyone knows, our go live is August 15th. We have a lot to do between now and then. The registration is just one piece of that. There's quite a bit that we have to do on our side to get ready as well, which is why we need you registered by July 29th. And at the end, we're going to walk through a Q&A session. So that's kind of our agenda for the next hour and a half. Very excited to walk through all this information. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Ketter.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending. Looks like we have over 300 people attending this morning, and that's fantastic. Just a little background. My name is Sean Ketter. I'm the Vice President of Global Procurement Supply Chain, located at our global headquarters here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. One of the areas that falls under my responsibility is our B2B connections with our supply base and connecting our suppliers to our business segments. Susan has been running the project here for a little bit, and just to be clear, this system is going to replace the current OSN or iSupplier that you may have been working with for the last 12 or 13 years. So when we go live with Jagger, OSN will cease to exist, which means, just as Daryl had mentioned, this will be the one-stop shop for POs, forecasts, being able to do ASNs, and even our RFQ processes. So it's incredibly critical that all of our suppliers, existing and new suppliers, get set up with a profile in order to facilitate a smooth transfer of information between our companies. But let me just take a step back and kind of provide a little bit of context. For those of you that may be a little bit more in tune, we've set out with a new strategy here at Oshkosh, and it really centers around three main pillars, and that is innovate, serve, and advance. And this upgrade or this new technology we're implementing with Jagger to help us facilitate communication between you and us is paramount in all three of these different areas. So our investment and our kickoff of Jagger 1 really sets to innovate how we communicate and connect with our supply base. Our goal is to be able to work with all of our suppliers in a productive way around all facets of how we do business, whether it's quoting suppliers, providing purchase orders, forecasts, allowing you to let us know when parts are coming. Just like what we do here with OSN, Jagger will allow us to do a lot more efficiently, a lot more reliably, and we'll set a foundation for further innovations in the future. So not only will we be setting the stage here for a tactical business that we do every day, but Jagger will set a foundation for us to improve and provide more services to our supply base than we really ever have before. And that's really exciting for us, and we'll be communicating some of those further enhancements, further innovations, and capabilities that we want to provide our supply base going forward. Number two is to serve. We're hyper-focused on serving the everyday heroes. These are the firefighters, the war fighters, folks that keep our communities clean, some of the most dangerous but most rewarding jobs out there. And we're really passionate about providing those pieces of equipment in a very reliable and high-quality way. But we also look at this as an opportunity to serve you, our customers, or you, our suppliers, excuse me, and become a better customer, and to provide information more reliably and streamline the way we work with our suppliers on an everyday basis. And finally, our goal at Oshkosh is to move quickly and meaningfully into new markets, which is going to require you, our suppliers, to grow with us, and also incorporate new suppliers into our ecosystem in a very efficient way. So that's kind of the first couple of words I wanted to share with all of you today. This is an incredibly important first step in our digitization journey here at Oshkosh. And we really, really appreciate and thank all of you for taking the time to do this. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention it again, but it is incredibly important that you all set up your profiles. There's a lot of information in there. Some of it may apply to you, some of it may not. Daryl will take you through all of the ins and outs of our profile system. But as Susan will say, as Daryl will say, on August 15th, for a myriad of different reasons, we have to shut down our OSN, our current portal system, and this will replace it. And if for whatever reason we don't have the supply base online, it will not only affect us in terms of continuity of supply, but also affect you. And we don't want that to happen. And we spent a lot of time across all of our business segments putting together a system that will not only connect us better, but it will allow us to know more about you and actually allow you to perhaps participate in other parts of our business that maybe we had no idea you could or were willing to do. So filling out that profile to your best of your ability will actually enhance the way you are seen within our company, with our different sourcing organizations, and could lead to potential new opportunities. So I encourage everybody to not delay and today set up that profile system, ask questions, attend those frequently asked question meetings with Daryl and the team. It's just absolutely critical, and we want to make this as easy on our supply base as possible. So with that, I will turn it over to Susan Chang, who is our project director here for the new Jagger 1 system. Susan?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. Just an overview of the Jagger 1 platform. It's quite extensive group of modules. For this first phase, as we're trying to turn off our current supplier portal, as Sean mentioned, we're really focused on 3 out of this set of modules. The first one is supplier management, which is really the module that we're asking you to sign into to complete your company-owned profiles. The power is within your hands to add in the contacts, to assign the profiles of folks that need to be aware and interacting in the systems in the various roles. And then sourcing and our supply chain collaboration. So I would say that the supply chain collaboration was where all the POs, the ASNs, your current interactions with our purchasing teams today will mainly be out of that module. We'll go into a little bit of that a little bit down the road here during this hour. And then there's sourcing, and we're excited about the capabilities that the sourcing module is going to be bringing to the table as well that wasn't previously possible in our current supplier portal. But as you can see, this ARC represents really the full spectrum from a strategic management all the way to the tactical execution. And the modules that we're starting out our digital journey with is splitting on both sides of this. But this is just our first step into our digital transformation. And we're excited to be working together with you, transitioning to a new, more modern system. Those of you that have been working in our current supplier portal have probably been often frustrated with sign-in issues, with system performance and reliability, to the point where you probably want to throw your laptop through the wall. So we're excited and anxious to make this move here in August, but a key piece of making this a successful transition is to ensure that all of our suppliers have moved in. So we're in crunch time at this point with really 4 weeks left of supplier engagement to get registered and trained. And so we've got to take this first step of getting you all registered, and we hope that by the end of this session, many of your questions will have been answered, and you know exactly what you need to do to get your registration completed and ready to roll for day 1. Next slide, please. Supply chain management, again, closest. You won't see too many additional functionality here. It's pretty close to what you have today, but it's all the basic blocking and tackling in order for us to collaborate together between supplier and customer on those purchase orders, changes in those. We're going to be increasing visibility of forecasts and at least one of our segments here to 18 months. Again, continue to be able to allow you to submit your ASNs for that to transmit over to our internal team, and it's incredibly important in today's world of supply chain challenges to continue to have that visibility throughout the process. You'll also be able to view invoices, payments, and receipts in real time, and we're quite excited about that, and I think in some cases this will be new for some of you. And of course, if you're a current EDI supplier today, you will continue to become stay EDI supplier, and that is part of the transition as well. So if you are a EDI supplier and you have not registered yet, the registration piece is a predecessor, so please get that completed ASAP, and then we can continue onto EDI. Next slide, please. The sourcing events, again, there's additional functionality. The user interface is incredibly intuitive, easy to use, and it allows for more back and forth collaboration within the tool. We should be able to put the email workflows. You know, email is not a business process, and we're excited to have the system to be able to help facilitate that work and communication and really keep it contained for both your efficiency of use as well as for our own team members. And so with the additional RFQ functionality, we're going to be continuing to build out those tools, and we're excited again to be working closer with you with these more technological advances within the platform. Next slide, please. And ultimately, this is where we want to focus today's workshop on, or summit, is really about the supplier relationship management. As I stated earlier, this puts the power of the quality of information into your hands. As a supplier, we're going to be putting the email, Excel sheets behind us, with exception of banking details that we'll need to until we get multi-factor authentication in place to secure that data. But you have the opportunity now to establish your contacts, update your contacts as they change, assign the roles within your company, and really provide us the knowledge base of the type of materials that you supply and produce. And again, as Sean said, opens it up, your opportunity to be visible to other segments within Oshkosh and beyond. And being part of the Jagger supplier network offers you a little bit more opportunity as well. And so we hope that you find this user-friendly interface much easier to use and faster. In the next slide, Daryl will go through a demo with you showing how quickly, if you have information together with under 60 minutes, you should be able to complete your registration and be able to be ready for day one when we switch off our current supplier platform. I think we're ready to head on to the demo, Daryl.
All right. So I kind of glanced at the list. There are several of you that I've worked with in the past. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Daryl Williams. I am the manager in supply chain. I actually report to Sean Ketter. Most of you have probably had some working relationship with me either through Move It or Reliance, which is a couple of our other externally facing applications. This is also one that will fall underneath me as we move forward. And my role here typically is to coordinate with our segments. So even as we go live, we always want to be hearing from our suppliers on what we could improve. Some of it we can do, some of it we cannot. So keep that in mind as we go through the process here. So I've sent this out a couple of times to folks, and really it's just a list of things that if you have all of this with you, you should be able to register. And as Susan mentioned, you should be able to do it in about 60 minutes, depending on what applies to you and what does not. So what we're asking you to do is answer some capabilities about your company. If your remit to address is different than your physical location, have that address ready. Copy of your W-9, taxpayer ID, ISO or IATF certifications, or AS if you have it. The business status certification, that is required for everybody. Typically in the past, it has only been required for defense. Oshkosh Corporation is trying to understand what their small business statuses are throughout the organization or throughout our 4 segments, so we are requiring that for everybody. NAICS codes, there's a link right here on this page. If you don't have a NAICS code, you can get one. That's typically used for defense. It just helps narrow down the type of manufacturer you are. And then we just need the initial contact people for sourcing, POs, and payments. So that's kind of for everybody. If you are a defense supplier, and there are some caveats here, FAFSA will be required. And I do realize that a lot of you have probably already filled out your FAFSA form within the iSupplier application. You will need to fill that out again in this application as well. We have a transition period here, but we have reporting that's due to the government every month on all of our small business spend. So we have to actually have it in both applications in this interim period. If you happen to be a new supplier, you have filled out your information on iSupplier, plus you have filled out your information on Jagger as well. You have to do both during this transition period. Cage codes are required for defense. There's a link here. If you don't have one, you can go get it. Unless you were supplying defense, you do not need to worry about this. The government recently changed from DUNS numbers to what they call SAM.gov numbers. I will have this link added in here. I'm sorry, I forgot to grab this link. I will update this before I post this out to the Oshkosh Supplier Network, and I'll show you where that's going to be as well. Along with that, if you supply electronics, this is for defense only, the CDAS will be required. This takes a little bit of time to fill out. This will take you beyond your 60 minutes. But if you are not an electronics supplier, then you don't need to fill this out. We also have the EJCP letter, and the cyber certification letters, and Section G, part of the SSG, is reps and certs. We're asking that you fill those out as well. These are for defense-only suppliers. If you are not supplying our defense segment, you can bypass all of this information. Training aids and links are also here as well. I'm going to show you where that's at before we go any further. So if you go to your internet browser and you typed in OSN portal or Oshkosh Supplier Network portal, then you will come to this page here. This is the Oshkosh Supplier portal. And if you click on new Oshkosh Supplier portal, it'll take you to this page. A couple of things on this page. Let me blow this up just a little bit so you can see it better. The first one being, there's some communications up here. I will, this session here will be part of that communication. Along with that, there will be training and education. Underneath here, you'll see that SRM is here. I know we'll be posting some additional information, quite a bit actually, over the next 2 weeks. So we have training aids available for SRM. Those are already posted here under the SRM section. Sourcing and SCM, which is supply chain management, that's all the POs and forecast and so forth. All of that information will be put out here as well. You will find this information as for English, Chinese, and Spanish. So over the next several days, you're going to see this get populated quite a bit. There's also a frequently asked questions section here that we've created. It'll answer a lot of your questions. And then at the bottom, there is our Go Live session. So if I click on this, it opens this page up here. So every Monday at 1 o'clock, you can click on this link. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m., you can click on that link. And it will open it up. Austin Price is actually the one who monitors this. He's pretty efficient with everybody that's on the calls. The questions have been fairly common, and that's part of the reason it feeds into our frequently asked questions. Half the time, he's probably done with everybody on the call within 30 minutes. There are exceptions to that, and I expect these calls to get just a little bit busier after we go through these 4 sessions. So just keep that in mind as you go through this, but I'm going to walk you through an actual demo of how to do all this. So hopefully you'll be able to do this pretty easily on your own. Okay, so first things first, somebody at your company was sent a link. If you don't know who that person is, reach out to us either through the email, come into one of the daily Q&A sessions. Austin can provide that link to you. Along with that, myself and Allie, who is also in the room, can help out with these links. So all you have to do is click on this link. I've already done this. Oops. All right. And it's going to take you to this page right here. So I've set up the supplier, and I'm actually going to walk through this process. If you are already on Jagger, you still need to fill out the profile for Oshkosh Corporation. So you're going to select your language. So this right here says, if you are already a Jagger Direct supplier, do not click on this button. We still need you to fill out your profile for Oshkosh Corporation. Select English. It's going to take you over. We've inputted some information here already. This link, so long as nobody has set up an account at your company, whoever this link went to, let's say it went to Austin and he set up an account. If that's the case, then Austin needs to complete the profile. If Austin is not the person that needs to complete the profile, you'll have to get with us so we can redirect that link. If nobody has touched that link, then we can actually just send the link to you, and then you can actually fill it out. The appropriate people can fill out the registration process. In this case, the only thing required here is my first name, my last name. I've already put a little bit of information here. I'm going to put in my login information. I'm actually doing all this in real time. I was going to stage a few things, but I decided not to do that. So dwilliams66, my email address. Oh, sorry. What we're recommending for everybody is to just put the first part of your email address as your login. login name. That's easy to remember, and it typically doesn't change. You can use something else if you want, but use your first part of your email address. I've actually already used this once, so I think, let's find out what happens. Can I use that? B. Williams, my email address is in here, hit continue. Oh, sorry, the phone number is mandatory. I intentionally did not fill any of this out in advance because I wanted to be able to walk everybody through from end to end. What did that do? It's the login. We'll put 66 after there. Continue. I'll shrink it down. Oh, there it is. Sorry, it did jump to the new page. Okay, so I actually entered my username, which I just put dwilliams66, and then it went to this page here, and I'm just going to hit continue. You can key in your DUNS number. At the very top here, there's a DNB lookup. You can utilize that as well. Verify that, sorry, I'm moving around a little bit on you. So this is my supplier, source to pay, supplier summit review, SRM. I just put Oshkosh's main address here. Make sure that information is correct. It doesn't really matter if you key in your corporate headquarters or you key in the location that you're at. You can key in any of that information. It's not a problem. You can key in your home page here. If I wanted to put oshkoshcorp.com, I could put that in there. The currency doesn't matter. You don't need to select any of that. We operate in U.S. currency, unless we're talking about some of our China suppliers, and there may be some exceptions. A DUNS number can be inputted, and then we just hit continue. There's two things here that you're going to agree to, one of which is required, and Austin, which one is required? The top one is required. These are Jagger's terms and conditions. We get this question a lot. Well, I don't know if I want to agree to that. So in order to operate in Jagger, you have to agree to the first one. And the way I usually explain this is very simply, you get upgrades on your phone all the time. You are accepting either Android or iSupplyer's terms and conditions. The one question that I did get that was rather utilize this platform. That statement is in there simply because we're not paying for your internet usage. We're not paying for your phone usage. You can use the system for free, but you have to access it through your own networks. We don't pay for any of that. So that's the one question that I see quite often come through from folks. So the first one has to be agreed to. The second one does not. If you're uncomfortable accepting that, then just move past it. So I'm going to go ahead and accept both of these and go forward. All right. So what happened now is we had a successful registration. I have simply set up my account. I've done nothing with the supplier profile. So in a second here, I'm going to get an email, and then I'm going to grab that real quick. So this was the email that I got. Now, in your case, you can simply click on this link. In my case, our company has single sign-on, so we have to actually use an incognito window. So I'm going to put that in there. It's going to come back and say, what is your username and password? Within the instructions, it's going to tell you to go ahead and just select, I forgot my password. And you're going to put I'm going to put the username in here, 66, and my email address. And then I'm going to put password request. And what that's going to do is send you the actual link so you can go in and change your password. So I'm going to go back to my email. And I've got to give it a second because it's not come through yet. There it is. So you will get this email right here. There's a couple of things here. There's a great big Oshkosh emblem on here. We are trying to get that reduced down in size, but as of now, this is in German. This is an overseas company, so the German comes up first. At the bottom here is the English version. Just for the record, doesn't matter which link you grab. So even if I grab the German link, I come over here. I'm going to put this in here. Keep in mind, you will simply be selecting these links. I'm having to copy and paste into an incognito window only because internally we have single sign-on, and it will look for my credentials if I don't do this. So the new password, I guess I should have wrote this down. Give me 1 second, folks. So there are some requirements here. You'll see over here on the right-hand side. I can't use the last 3, the last 8 characters. And you need an uppercase and a lowercase. See if I can do this right the first time. Oops. And watch, you'll do exactly what I just did. Make sure you jump to the next section. Back down. And just hit return. Password has been successfully changed. And it will redirect you over to the actual login page. So you're going to have to key in your username again. For me, it was dwilliams66. Password. Okay, so at the very top of this page, the first thing you're going to see is there's a big reddish orange line. Your registration has not been finished. Continue with the registration, click here. So you can simply click here. If you log in and it says something along the lines, your registration is under review, somebody at your company has already submitted your profile. We are reviewing everything that comes through. The main thing we are reviewing is we want to make sure that the supplier numbers that are attached to your company are correct. That is the biggest thing that we are reviewing as we go through. It is critical that those are correct because we want to make sure that the POs, the RFQs, and the forecast go out the way they're supposed to on the morning of August 15th. So we're going to click on this. Sorry, I'm just blowing that up a little bit. So you can get to this in 2 ways. You could have clicked on that link that I just clicked on the reddish orange bar, or you could actually come over here. If you expand this right here, you'll see home, primary data, documents, and request. So if I go under primary data, there's base data, which is where I'm at right now on this page. There are categories, contact people, and company profiles. So the only thing we're verifying here is the company data correct? If I wanted to put in, no pressure on me, I got hundreds of people watching me type. So I can just key in and say I wanted to put in the home page. I can hit continue. It'll take me over to contacts. Now, because I registered, it put my name under all of this. So for sourcing, profile, order confirmation, company president, and payments, it put my name under all of these. So what I can do, though, is I can add contacts right here. So let's say I'm not the one who is handling the order confirmations or the POs. So I'm going to click on this little guy right here, add new contact. I'm going to key in a name. In this case, I'm going to use Austin. I'm going to key in his name. I'm going to key in a phone number. I did that wrong. Sorry. I could key in a mobile number if needed and the email address. Correct. Sorry, Austin's in the room in case anyone will look at him and ask questions. So something we're seeing quite often is you actually went through and put that email address in, but you didn't click on this button right here. This is called out in the instructions. If you just put this in here, Austin would not be able to set up his account. He won't even get an email for it. It'll just be set up in here, but when we go look at it, we see a big red X beside his name. So make sure you click Portal Access, which is right here, which gives you the option to key in his login name. So right here, I would put in a price, 66 in case there's an issue with that. And we're clicking this right. And we're going to click this permissions, Oshkosh Supplier Portal ACL. So 2 things on this page. Make sure you're clicking portal access. Make sure you're keying in the username. I highly encourage you to use the first part of the email address only. If you put in some random thing, it's going to be hard to remember. So he's going to remember a price, but he may not remember a price 66739, which I did see some folks put in some very weird login names. If you want that, it's okay, but you're setting up an account for somebody else. So let's make it as easy as possible, because they're going to have to come to you to figure out what that login name is at some point. If you're the one who's doing the profile, you're also the admin for this account. It doesn't mean you have to set up every single account. If you have 6 locations, you have to set up one person at each of those locations, and then that person can set up the remainder of the accounts at the location for POs and sourcing and payments and so forth. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit save. All right, so as of right now, Austin just got an email to go in and set up his account. He's going to work on that for a couple of minutes. But in the interim, I'm going to go in and say, Austin needs to do order confirmation. So I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to put add another responsibility right here. This is how you set up accounts. And then I'm going to go through and look for Austin's name, which is right here, and hit save. Now, what you just seen under order confirmation, which is for POs, for PO management, there are 2 assignments. So if I click on this, I can see that I'm set up and I can see that Austin is set up. I can do the same thing over here. Let's do this one more time. Under sourcing, you can see him right here. I hit add responsibility and I type in Austin's name. That information comes up and I hit save. This is very simple. You also have the ability to go in and remove these contacts at some point in the future. The expectation is that you are managing your own contacts. You are managing who is seeing sourcing, who is doing order confirmation, and who is doing payments. There's always been a little bit of a conversation about the company president. Feel free to put your sales guy in there. It's okay. I don't want that to be a hang up on what you're entering in here. We have a lot of multinational corporations that we deal with, and some of them are going to have their company president in, some are not. So just be aware of that. If I go under this section here, it's called contacts, I can actually see a list. So I can see that Austin is set up. I can see that I am set up. If I go over here, let's say somebody leaves your company, you have the ability to delete that account. So if Austin was to leave this fake account to go to another fake account company, then you have the ability to go in and delete this. So just keep that in mind as you go through here. All right, I'm going to hit continue. So the next section is categories. So I'm going to go ahead and do fabrications because it's going to bring up some additional information in the next section. You can expand this information. So if I expand this down, I'm a fabricator. Let's say I do cabs, frame rails, heavy and light, but I don't do stamping. So you can undo stamping. Maybe I don't do tanks. I can undo tanks, and I don't do tubing. But hey, I also do castings. So I can come down here, and any of this that is related to castings, I can do that. But let's say I don't do, stainless steel. So I've chosen fabrications and castings as the 2 main categories that my company supplies. So if I go down through here, there's a whole bunch of stuff, both for direct and indirect. You can see hardware, production consumables, fire suppression, utilities and energy. We have set this up to support both our direct and indirect suppliers. The one thing that you do have to pick over here, you can see on the right-hand side, I have this field is mandatory. So we want you to pick a primary category. We, at some point in the future, will be utilizing this. If we want to search Jagger for some specific suppliers that do fabrications. And even though you're picking, let's say, cabs or frame rails as your primary, we're also going to pick up in the search that you do cabs, that you do heavy fab, that you do light fab. This is we're setting this up for the future as well as our most current need, which is replacing the iSupplier application. So pick a primary, and you can go in and edit this anytime. If you have already registered, though, don't make any changes till after August 15th. It's okay. We want to be able to review your profile the way it is right now. And then after August 15th, after you've listened to me go through all of this, if you want to make changes at that point, you can do it then. So I'm going to hit continue again. Now we are over on the profile. So if I click on primary data, I am actually toward the end of this. This is where the majority of the questions are coming though. You can also see that I have nothing filled out. I'm at 0% right here. Okay, so we're going to go through here. The first question I read and understand and agree to follow the Oshkosh Corporation Supplier Code of Conduct. This is a simple supplier code of conduct. If you click on the link, it will take you to our supplier code of conduct. If you do not feel comfortable or you already have a supplier code of conduct, select no. If we have any issues, we will come back to you. You're going to hear me say that several times today. If you are not comfortable selecting yes on this, select no and move on. Our goal today is to get you registered, and we want to be able to do that as efficiently as possible. The next question, I have read and understood the Oshkosh Supplier Standards Guides. So one of the items that we get from this quite often is they don't necessarily agree to all sections of the Supplier Standards Guide. We have existing agreements in place with you. You are all existing suppliers. So if we have an issue, we'll come back to you. Our preference is that you select no, but some of you have agreements on payment terms and so forth already in place. This does not override that. So if you have an issue, select no, it's fine. We're not going to be upset about it. We're not going to penalize you for it. We just want to get everyone registered at this point. We will run an analysis, and if we have any issues with anything, we will follow up with you. The next section is something new. As most of you know, within our world today, there's a lot of modern-day slavery going on, and that can come in many forms. There's a link here that we would like for you to go in to participate with this and to help us combat that. You can click on the link, fill out the information, and you can put yes or no. Same thing. You were not being penalized for saying no on this. There's no big red flashing light on you saying, hey, they don't believe in modern day slavery or anything. We know everyone is making a conscious effort to ensure that this does not happen. That you understand that this is a required question. This is one of those, if you select no, you can come back to it later. If you want to do some additional research so your company has a full understanding of what's going on, then feel free to do that before you answer this question, yes. Under general profile questions, sorry, I'm going to bring that back down just a little bit. Under general profile questions, anything with an asterisk, and I know those asterisks are a little hard to see, that is an enhancement that we are asking for them to help us out with because we do know that it's kind of hard to see. What type of supplier are you? A distributor, manufacturer, services, transportation? I'm just going to put manufacturing. Is your company public or private? You can select private. It's still going to ask you for company sales. You need to put something in here. You can put whatever you want here. Total number of employees, again, whatever you want. It is a required field. Do you have a parent company, yes or no? You click yes. This is going to show up. You do not need to do anything with that link. Just ignore that link altogether. If you select no, it disappears. But if you select yes, just ignore it. It's something that we're trying to get taken out. We just haven't been able to do it yet. Are you a U.S.-based company, yes or no? I'm just going to put yes. Do you have the ability to perform business-to-business, which is EDI integrations? You're not required to go into EDI if you select yes, no, or not applicable. So I'm just going to put NA. Does your company provide cost breakdowns if requested? So again, it doesn't matter what you put, just put something in here. We'll follow up if we have any issues. Most of you have already been participating with us when it comes to cost breakdowns. If not, we usually request those whenever we send out quotes anyway. You can add any comments in here that you want under this section. You have a cage code. This is a defense requirements. So if you hit yes, then a cage code box is going to show up. If you do not have a cage code and you supply defense, there is a link right there. Click on that link and you can request a cage code for your company. And it is a 6-digit number. I'm just going to put 1 through 6. Is the remit to address different than your base address information? So this is one of the things that was on my list. If I hit yes, then I want to be able to have that remit to address there. This happens quite often, especially if companies have multiple locations or they direct all their bills to a central location. Say they have 3 manufacturing facilities, but all the bills go to a different address than those 3 manufacturing facilities. So just have your remit to information available to you. In the interest of time, I'm just going to leave this as a no. Production calendar, we get a lot of questions on this. So if you have a production calendar, you can upload that. There is an example of one here that you can fill out. You don't have to fill this out. This is a non-required field. So you can bypass this. So if you know your shutdown dates, you can fill out this information, or if you already have a calendar, you can fill that out as well. So please keep that in mind. Again, not required. Supplier quality audit. Please read the supplier quality manual. Most of you have to provide some level of a PPAP to us, especially if you're supplying defense. So this is just an acknowledgement that, yep, I read the supplier quality manual. Also not required. The next one, please complete the quality self-audit and attach below copy of completed form. This is a required, actually it doesn't show it's required. Is that required? Okay, this one's not required, sorry. If you have an audit that we've already performed and you have a copy of it, feel free to attach the file, it's okay. If not, you can put I've completed the supplier quality audit, or you can put not applicable. I'm okay either way. You do not have to complete the supplier quality audit to complete your profile. I talked about this a minute ago. This is CDAS. Does your organization provide electronic parts? And typically this is internal components. Defined in DFARS. This is a defense requirement that we're asking you to complete if you supply electronic parts. If you have never filled one of these out, we probably have not asked you to fill one out in the past. We will run an analysis on those of you that provide us with electronic parts. And if we feel it is needed and you haven't done it, we will follow up with you. We are trying to get better as an organization. This is spelled out in the DFARS. For those of you that deal with defense, you should know that the DFARS requirements we have to adhere to from a government standard. So there's a couple options here. I've completed it, and if you complete it, it'll give you an option to attach the file and when you updated it. If you haven't completed it and it doesn't apply to you, just put not applicable. I am not a provider of electronic parts. So please keep that in mind. Tax information. So this stuff is required and it's basic information. Sales tax exemption, yes or no? I'm just going to put no. What is the organization type? I'm a corporation, but you can select any of these. What is your tax country or region? So depending on how you answer this, if you're EU, it's going to ask you for a VAT. If you're other, it's just going to ask you for a tax registration. And if you're US, it's going to ask you for a taxpayer ID. I'm just going to put something in here. Are you 1099 reportable, yes or no? If it's yes, enter yes, and then choose a file. Let me find something here. There we go, driver's station. And then you're going to attach your W-9. Very simple. Accounts payable information. Did you confirm that your payment information is correct? Yes or no? You can click no. You can click yes. I assume you want to get paid, so you should probably verify this information, please. So we are at the end of the general section, which is right here. We're going to hit save. So now you can see that in this field, we are now up to 58%. And what it is telling me is somewhere in the BSC and somewhere in the certifications, we have not completed some information that's in there. So the next section I'm going to go to products. I'm just going to work my way across here. Does your company have in-house design capabilities? I want to point out that none of this is required. I'm going to go ahead and fill it out for the sake of this demo. I'm going to put no. Again, no penalty for saying no to anything. Levels 1 through 4, I can do all of those. Again, these are not required questions. Do any of the following statements apply? You can leave them blank or you can grab a couple of them. Same way with this one. Select any following statements in production operations which apply to your company. Same thing. Just grab a couple of them or leave them blank. They are not required. We get a lot of questions on this, and I intentionally chose fabrications and castings because it generates this Qualtrics survey. If we haven't asked you to fill out this Qualtrics survey, you do not need to fill this out. We will let you know if you need to fill this one out. And as I'm going through here, I know some of you are probably thinking, well, why are they asking for all this information? So this profile is being set up not only for our existing supply base, but we're constantly evaluating and adding suppliers. We probably add anywhere from, 50 to 100 suppliers and probably get rid of at least that many every couple of months. So we want to be able to understand when we send somebody out here to fill out their profile for us to evaluate, are they somebody that we want to work with? Do they have these capabilities? So in your guys' case, you are an existing supplier. We have most of this information on file somewhere or in a spreadsheet somewhere anyway. But if you want to take the time to fill out the survey, that's okay. Or if you've already filled out this survey, you can just click, I've already filled this out. Again, this is not required. And because I chose fabrications, there's some follow-up questions on fabrications. Again, this will be used for the future. You don't need to fill it out right now. You can come back in after August 15th and fill this out if you want. So, but if I want to go through and grab a couple of these, let's say I do cut and form. There's some heavy information here. I grab those. I also chose casting, so you can go through and pick whichever ones you want here, or you can leave all of them blank. There's aluminum, there's gray iron, ductile. It pulled up every single one of them, but it's asking you for some additional capabilities. And again, this is going to be used for the future. So while I don't need it right now, I do encourage you, let's say sometime in the September timeframe, to come back in here and fill this out. We are going to be sending out some reminders probably once a year for you to go in and update profiles. We're hoping to do that through the system at some point. For now, it may just be an email, but our focus right now is just to get people registered. So this is part of the reason we're doing this today. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to jump over to certifications. So you'll notice that I'm still at 58%. None of those questions that I just filled out were required, so it did not budge my fill-in progression. So I'm going to go to certifications. A couple of things on this page. First one being the first section is required. That is the only thing that is required on this page. If you are a defense supplier, we do want you to fill out the rest of that, and we will be looking at those as we do an evaluation of these profiles. So I can hit no on this, and I can go right past this. Most of you have ISO, IATF, or AS9100s. It's very simple. If I hit yes, I'm going to choose a file. Stationary. Sorry, I'm just looking for the same file that I had. There's an issue date here. Let's say it was today. Certifying agency. Just put my initials and the expiration. There's a calendar here. You can simply go to 2023. ISO certifications, I think, last a year. And this is done. You don't need to do anything else. If you are a defense supplier, the joint certification program with the Defense Logistics Agency, this is something we want you to fill out. This is only if you are supplying defense. You may have never filled this out before, but there's a letter here. Just fill out the letter. Just put yes or no. If you hit yes, it's going to ask you for some similar information. This is one where you will need the cage code. So if you're a defense supplier, you'll need to fill out this information. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as no for right now, just for the sake of this demo. Same thing here. This is the cyber certification. Again, completed or not applicable to my company. I'm going to put not applicable, but if I was to put completed, then I'm just going to fill out this information here and you're good to go. Again, just a reminder, if you're not a defense supplier, these bottom three that I'm going over are not required for you. I can put completed or not applicable to my company. And that's all I've got to do. Now, if I hit save, you're going to see that my 58% percentages went up. It went up to 65%. So it's also showing that the only thing missing is BSC. So that's right here. You can see it says BSC. So I'm going to click over to BSC. This is required for all suppliers, regardless of whether you were a defense supplier or not. You can come in here and say doing business as. Source. Oops. my supplier name here. I put my address. This is autofilling for me because I am using Chrome and it's pulling our corporate headquarters. So address, city, state, make sure those are correct. Oops. United States. Principal service or product. So we get this question a lot. This is very simple. You're typically a manufacturing operation, so you can just put manufacturing. Manufacturing. This is also one area where you will need the NAICS code. Right. Then there's a few questions down here at the bottom. Do you qualify as a large or small business? You can key in large. Depending on how you answer these, additional questions will show up. So just read the questions, go through there. You can see that I had a couple more come through there. What type of small business are you? This is not a required section, but if you're a defense supplier, you typically qualify under one of these. So I'm just going to put small for right now. There is a disclaimer here. If you're a defense supplier, you've seen this disclaimer, or somebody from your company has seen them before. We want to make sure that we are being truthful as we report stuff out to the government. So please make sure you answer these questions appropriately. If you are a non-defense supplier, I'm going to tell you to go through here and you can put NA on every single one of these fields and it will accept. So if you are a non-defense supplier, feel free to just put NA in all of this. So it's asking for a signature. I'm going to go ahead and just put my name. Oops, if I can spell my name. Title. I can key in a phone number. And then I can put the date that I'm actually, because right here at the bottom it says I certify. We have a lot of people miss this right at the bottom. You can't scroll down any farther, so sometimes if your screen's blowing up, people miss this information, and you just put I certify. You will need to go ahead and put that in there, even if it doesn't apply to you. This was a compromise. What we really we're trying to do for the future is to ask the question at the top, are you a defense supplier? And if so, you need to fill out the information. This will be a follow-on item that we're working on with Jagger, which is our software provider for this. So please keep that in mind. For now, we're going to have to ask that you fill it out. I'm going to hit save, and that should take us to 100%. And it did. So successfully saved. Please fill in all mandatory fields and click publish. So the last thing I'm going to cover with you, though, if you are a defense supplier, we'll say that again. If you are a defense supplier, you are required to fill out the FATA form. You may have already filled this out in the existing iSupplier application. I want to be 100% clear here. Nothing from the existing application as far as your company information will come over to this application. You have to fill everything out again. So if you go down through here, I'm still going to step through this even though we probably have some non-defense suppliers here. What is your SAM ID? So I think that is a 9 or 12-digit ID that the government just implemented. This replaces DUNS. You can go to this link and request that information. I have heard there are some delays on the government side on issuing these numbers. If that is the case, you can come back and put this number in later. Because these are non-required fields, it's okay. But we still need you to fill that out. Our defense segment will be doing an evaluation on this. If it's just going to be a day or two, just wait for the number and let it come in. This way you can input the information and you'll be done with it. Supplier name. Oops. Save. Sorry, I was going to copy and paste. I forgot I had to save. So I'm just going to grab this information right here. See. Jump back over to FATA. Supplier name. Parent vendor name. It can be the same. Unique. So this is your unique entity ID for SAM. If you have a parent number as well, you can enter that information in here. Street address. I'm just going to throw our corporate address in here. Country. States. The FATA information. So depending on how you answer this, More questions will show up. Make sure you read each of those statements because we are using this to report out to the government. So we want to make sure that we're being truthful in this. So this would have been asking for my company's leadership. I'm just going to put my own name in here. Manager. Typically, if you're reporting to this, you're reporting out a certain amount, the compensation for the year. And then finally at the bottom, there is an I certify section, just like the last time. Manager. That one. Today's date, and then I certify. So if I hit save, all of this information is automatically uploaded. This is not the last step though. So everything is now completed. Are you guys seeing any questions that are of concern right now? Okay. So here's what happens now. Everything has been filled out. I am at 100%. All I have to do is hit this publish button. Just holding for a second. The folks are reviewing some of the questions to see if there's anything that is of concern. Our goal today is to make this as easy as possible. We do still have a little bit of time, so if you have some questions, input those into the chat. If there's anything that I have not been clear on, how to complete your profile, now is your chance. And you still have an opportunity. You can obviously use the Oshkosh purchasing inbox. You can come into Austin's daily Q&A sessions. Those have not been, those kind of been underutilized here the last couple of days. We had a huge influx last week when I notified everybody. But it's beginning to slow down a little bit. Several of you on the phone have probably already registered. If you have already registered, I do encourage you as you set up accounts to make sure that you notify people that you're setting up their accounts because they're going to get an email from Jagger. It's also important that you let your IT folks know that emails are coming from Jagger so they can whitelist them. You're going to be getting a lot of information there. So all I would have to do is hit publish, and then it will come to Oshkosh, and it will just say this is under review. So if you log in and you see that it's under review, it just means that we are working on the approval process. Again, you won't be penalized for saying no to any of this stuff, but we want to make sure that you are published and that you have accounts set up that will support sourcing activities, PO activities, being able to review your forecast. If you're an EDI supplier, again, you still got to register here. You may not use the portal very often because you're EDI, but you still need to register so we can make those connections with all of the supplier numbers. There are some of you in this probably on the call here. You may only have, let's say, you supply all 4 segments. Well, each segment has not only production, but they have aftermarket. So there are supplier numbers that are associated with your company. So right off the bat, if you're supplying both, say, production and aftermarket, then you automatically have 8 supplier numbers that we have behind the scenes that are representing your company. Some of our larger corporations, we have up to 127 supplier numbers because of all the locations. And we want those POs to go out to the correct locations. So that's the reason you have so many supplier numbers when we set you up. How are we doing? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. Actually, I'm not going to hit publish. I'm going to hold off on that and go back to my PowerPoint. Okay. So let's go back here, do a few wrap-up comments. We may finish a little bit early if we don't have any major questions. I'm hoping this has been very informative for everybody and you feel like you can get this done in a very timely manner now. We do have 2 more of these sessions tomorrow. If you want to hear me talk again for a very extended amount of time, you are welcome to join. I don't mind. Keep in mind on Oshkosh Supplier Network, there is a link here. This will be published or will be posted out to that site by probably Thursday, or if not by today. You can click on the link and it will take you over to the site. There's communications, education, and training. And I'm just going to go back to this site again for a second. So we have communications, we have training and education, frequently asked questions, and upcoming events. You're going to see quite a bit get posted to this site here over the next several days. Most of our information has now been translated or is in the process of being translated. Obviously, the English versions are already done. They're just not posted out here yet. We're probably going to be rearranging the site just a little bit as well, just to accommodate all of the 3 languages that we have. So please keep that in mind. And then finally, back here to the end, just some closing comments. You've heard myself, you have heard Sean Ketter, and you have heard Susan Chang say this. We need you to be registered by the 29th. We need you to have your folks set up by the 29th. If it's not done, then POs, RFQs, forecast, those will not go out and go live. There's a lot of work for us to do behind the scenes. Any of you that have been through an ERP upgrade, you know that it is very painful. Replacing a supplier portal, just about as painful and we're connecting into, I think, 8 to 9 different ERP systems, and we want to make sure that the information goes out to you seamlessly. We don't want to have a line shutdown situation. We don't want you to have to scramble to get something to us. We understand you guys will move heaven and earth for us, and we truly appreciate that. But in order to make this seamless, we want to make sure that everyone is registered. So please keep that in mind as you go through this process. If you have any questions, you have any concerns, you run into roadblocks, pick up the phone and get on one of our daily Q&A sessions. We have the Oshkosh purchasing inbox. There's about 4 of us that are monitoring that. I expect that there will be an influx today of questions. We will get those answered as quickly as we possibly can. If you have been ignored at any point during this time frame, you've got emails from me. You can email me directly, and we'll get it taken care of. Just a reminder, the Oshkosh Supplier Portal is here for training aids and communications. More information will be posted here very shortly. And the last thing that I want to hit today is we have supplier training sessions coming up. So there's a company called Bearing Point that is our implementation partner. They will be holding the supplier training sessions. Much like what we did with this session where we send out an email asking you to sign up, we're going to do the same thing with the supplier training sessions. These will cover POs, it'll cover RFQs, forecast, ASNs, the viewing of invoices, payments, and receipts. All of this will be covered within the training sessions, and it will be very clear what's going to be trained and when during those sessions. So we will set up Sign Up Genius just like we did for this, and we will walk through and make sure everyone is up to speed. Again, there are training aids for all of this. We have tried to simplify the training aids as much as we can. Matter of fact, I had one of these turned up here earlier. So here it is. So this is the SRM profile creation. This is this one right here, supplier profile creation job aid. So as we go through this, you can see I talked about picking your language, filling out your information, the DMB lookup. All of this information is here. We tried to keep the words at a minimal. The one thing that I did notice on this that, Austin, we need to update, it was not clicking on whether they're a Jagger. Here, we got this here. So even though step 2 says if you're a Jagger, you're already on Jagger Direct, click this button, don't do that. Just click on English or whatever language you have, and then just fill out the profile. We'll update this sometime, hopefully in the next day or 2. But these are step-by-step. This is what I walked all of you through as you went through here. We did try to minimize the words as much as possible. We've expanded on things that we need to, so you know what you need to do. All right. I don't have anything else. Any questions? Dawn, are you seeing anything on your side? I think we're good. Allie, Austin?
Working on a couple specific questions, but overall, not seeing anything that hasn't been answered, I guess.
There is today's Q&A session does begin in less than an hour at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time today. I will throw that link in the chat for anyone that needs to join. I've already replied to a few of you. So.
All right. Susan, any closing comments from you? I don't know that we have a lot of questions. I think we've answered most of them as we went through.
Daryl, I think there was one question regarding DFARS. I think the question came from Nicholas Zimmer. In the certifications, there's a section asking for DFARS info. Where can we find DFAR is in the old system. I think he means the current OSN portal. If we can't find it locally, what is the recommended best course of action?
So there are links here to in the new system. So if it's around cybersecurity, you can click on this link here and it will take you to that location of where that's located at. And same thing for reps and certs. You can just grab that information off the links. You're probably not, I don't know where it's at in the existing system, if that's what your question was. I would say just go to these, and basically for this one, you're just signing a form at the bottom. That's it. You're clicking on this, it's taking you over here. It's going to take you to the Oshkosh Supplier Network site, and you can just grab that information from there. Oh, sorry. So you can just click on those links and grab that information from there. And if you have any trouble, just let me know. I'm happy to help out with this one. Happy to help out through email. Or we can jump on one of the daily Q&A sessions. Susan, did you notice anything else outside of that?
Some questions coming in about, and I'll just read it, even though we've answered it on the Q&A, I'll just read out some of the questions about the presentation being shared and also the demo. Great feedback from the team, or from our suppliers on the call. They appreciate the demo, Daryl. I believe what you said is that after following this, that we would be sending out the presentation deck with the links. And then we would also be sending out and making the demo available on YouTube after we've gotten through all the supplier sessions.
Yes, and just to clarify, what we do is we actually send out a link to YouTube. You won't be able to search YouTube and find it. We actually set it up under a private link. This way, it's limited on the viewing, on who has access to it. And it's just for privacy reasons. We want to make sure that we're not exposing anything that we don't need to. YouTube is pretty wide open, so we just send out a private link on that. Susan, completely agree. The deck will probably, I think this deck is 8 megs, unfortunately, so I will probably just put that out on the Oshkosh Supplier Network, which will be this site right here. And I will send out an email as done. So if you go to this section right here, let me just pull this up. If you just type in Oshkosh Portal, this site will come up. You can just click on the Oshkosh Supplier Portal, and it will end up being under, I'm guessing communications is probably where I'll put it, or I may put it under the general section, but I'll actually give you a link directly to it so you can find it pretty easily. Susan, anything else or anything you want to add beyond what I said?
Yeah, I'd say, I think, yeah, thanks, Daryl. I think hopefully this helps you to connect the dots. Understand if you're not on the portal, you haven't received an email yet, but you think you need to, please join one of our Q&A sessions where we'll look up the information for you, or as Daryl said, send an email to the shared Oshkosh purchasing inbox. We will look up that information, get that over to you. If a person has already started, then that profile administrator will then become your key point of contact to get you added, get your account set up, as Daryl walked through, and then you'll be able to perform your functions within that. If you don't know the status of your company, please definitely reach out and we'll look that up and share that with you. There's been quite a few changing of players within many of our supply base, and so we thank you guys for all joining the call today and getting to learn a little bit more about what's upcoming. We've got 3 weeks to really get you to the finish line of supplier registration and also get you trained up so you're ready to know how to utilize the system once we turn this thing on in August. So lots to do still, but we need to get through this critical portion of the process now. EDI, if you're already an EDI supplier, the same connections will exist. We're still going through OpenText. So again, I would have to stress, if you're an EDI supplier, you still need to complete your registration process. so that we have the contacts and the information set up and the ERP numbers identified in your profile before the EDI connection can be testing completed. And I think overall, those were the majority of the questions, Daryl. So I think we've got still 15 minutes left. We can hang on and field some additional questions as they stream through. But again, hopefully this spurs on the action to go through and complete it. It does not take more than 60 minutes, especially as Daryl has kind of given you the finer points on what is required and what is not. So thank you again for your participation. Back to you, Daryl.
Final thing I'm going to throw out is, I'm sorry, I didn't complete my thought here. The last statement here, invitations coming late July for supplier training sessions. We should know later this week, Bearing Point is going to give us the dates that they would like to do these. Don Brown and myself will compile or complete a set up a sign-up genius, and we'll just do much like we did with this one. I expect those to start either late next week. I'm guessing they're going to start the week of July 25th. We are running those in several sessions in English. We are also doing Chinese and Spanish as well. We want to make sure that we're encompassing our entire supply base. Susan and I were on calls last night with China. We are on calls again tonight doing the same thing that I just did with you guys. So we are trying to get everyone covered as quickly as we possibly can. But I would expect either late the week of July 18th, we may start a couple of sessions, and the week of the 25th and the week of the August 1st, we'll be doing some additional sessions. So there will be multiple opportunities for you to jump in to listen to those sessions. I will tell you most of the feedback, we've had a few suppliers in for testing. Most of them, they were moving pretty quick through the system. There was a couple of key points that we needed to point out to them, which is what we will do in those training sessions. But everything, what we are hearing so far is the system is very intuitive and pretty easy to use. So, and I promise you, you will have better performance, and I'm truly hoping no login issues, which I know that's what most people run into. So we're moving along pretty quickly, and we're very excited about moving to this application. Do you guys have something?
There is one. Let's see. Is CDOS and DFARS required for non-electronic parts suppliers? I guess that depends on.
They are not. No. If you are a defense supplier, the CDAS comes into play. If you are a non-defense supplier, that does not apply to you.
That's the only one that was unanswered.
We've got about 10 minutes. We're going to leave this line open. If somebody has a question, feel free to throw it into the chat and we'll answer those. Otherwise, everybody, I know it's only 10 minutes, but 10 minutes can make or break a day. So feel free to go about your day. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you can complete your profiles a little bit quicker with this additional commentary. One final thing, if you heard something, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, please wait till after August 15th to make any changes, because you'll just generate more tickets for us to approve. But you can go in anytime to adjust that information. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.